Good evening and a very warm welcome to you. Thank you very much for being a part of tonight's Game of Two Halves podcast, powered by the Geelong Region Soccer Show. And it's live and exclusive here on all your favourite platforms. It is episode 109, and my name is Tonshi Prusak. Absolute pleasure to be with you here tonight. What a massive show we have got lined up for you folks. It's going to be huge. We call ourselves the Game of Two Halves because there are two segments: the global game segment, and then we've also got what we call the local game segment. And in tonight's show, it's just going to be absolutely massive. In the global game segment, well, he's the doyen of Australian football media, the Channel 10 commentator Simon Hill, who's also a very, very passionate Manchester City fan. He'll be joining us as part of the global game segment. We'll also be joined by former Melbourne City and Newcastle Jets A-League star KEW JALIENS, who these days calls Newcastle home up in the northern New South Wales, the Hunter Valley. And they will be joining us very, very shortly. Won't be too long before the global game segment kicks off. In the second half of the show, the local game segment, we'll be joined by two gentlemen from Futsal Ballarat, TEBB and Andrew BURGESS. They are both involved with Futsal Ballarat, and they administer the Geelong Futsal competitions. We'll be talking to them because there's lots going on in the area of futsal, let me tell you. And on top of that, we have the Victorian Country Championships as well. Lots been happening in Ballarat over the weekend, speaking of Ballarat. And we've got all the results. We've got how far each of the Geelong teams went. There were 12 junior teams, in fact, that took part in the competition up in Ballarat. So we'll be covering all of that, plus all of the roundup, the news roundup of all the games played over the weekend. There's quite a fair bit of action happening there aplenty. So we've got, folks, we've got lots and lots and lots lined up for you tonight. Make sure you hang around for the next 90 or so minutes. But before we do get into the global game segment, just a couple of announcements, if you like. So there we go. They're the guests for tonight. But we've also got we've got some. Let's talk about the Geelong Advertiser. What has been making the news in the local press? On the far left-hand side, we've got a whole page virtually devoted to the country championships. In the top right-hand corner, Sutcliffe pumped for long weekend, talking to arguably one of the highest profile female football coaches in the Geelong region, Emily Sutcliffe, who joined us on the show last week, talking about the upcoming country championships, Geelong Girl Power on show at the Champs. In Saturday's edition, there in the middle, an article looking at the Coasters, Surf Coast looking to keep the heat on top as they travel to Bell Park for the big local derby in State League 4. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And on the far right-hand side, today's Geelong Advertiser, at the bottom of the page there, Lions left to rue, missed opportunities in the first half. Geelong Soccer Club ahead of arguably its biggest game of the season that is tomorrow night when they take on in the Australia Cup Round 7 fixture. They take on the might of Oakley Cannons, 8 p.m. at Jack Edwards Reserve. Should Geelong cause the unthinkable and cause a major upset here, what we will see is a Geelong side for the first time ever make the National 32 round or the national phase of the Australia Cup. Huge. It is just going to be absolutely massive if that does eventuate. Folks, on the other side of the break, it's time for the global game, and it's a pre-recorded interview with Simon Hill and KEW JALIENS that was just before Saturday night's UEFA Champions League final. So it was done on the Saturday. Don't miss this. There's some very, very good things to listen to, some words of advice both to juniors and youngsters, as well as people who are looking to make an industry or make a career in the football industry. Folks, don't go away. It's the Game of Two Halves.
It's Ray from Euro Football Star. We're coming live from the beautiful Taksim Square in Istanbul, and we've got some special guests on the line with us. We've got Josip Zilic, who's head of operations at Euro Football Star. We've also got Simon Hill, and we've also got KEW JALIENS. How's everyone this afternoon?
Very good, thanks, Ray.
Very well.
Terrific,
Very
thank
well.
you. Now, we've got a couple of questions we're going to throw at our special guests, Simon and KEW. We're just going to first pick up with Simon. So we originally last spoke to Simon about just over a year ago when we come live from the Champions League final in Paris. And just for a bit of an update, we've got probably quite a few, many more thousand followers since we last had you on, Simon. So I was just wondering if it was okay, because we was overseas in Europe and also back in Australia. If you could just give them maybe a little 1 minute background of your career and where you started and what you're currently doing current day.
Well, I'm from Manchester, as you can tell by the City tracksuit. I'm a big City fan, so I'm delighted we're in the final again. I grew up in northwest England, started my journalistic career in 1991, which makes me feel very old. Working for radio stations in the UK. I eventually worked for the BBC for about a decade, went on to work for ITV, various other places, including Sky Sports as a freelancer, and then came to Australia in 2003 to work for SBS Television. where I worked for 3 years, and then I went to Fox Sports, where I was chief football commentator for 14 years. And since 2021, I've been with Channel 10. So I call the A-League games and the Socceroos and Asian Champions League and all that sort of stuff. And I have a radio show on SEN as well. So that's the short version.
Amazing, Simon. Thank you for that background. And obviously, by the big smile on your face, I can tell that you're a Manchester City fan at the moment.
Yes, very happy with life at the moment.
I am very begrudgingly happy for you. And yeah, I am not a Manchester City fan. I have to wear the scarf because I lost the bet. So unfortunately, but I've got some toilet paper if we run out in the hotel. This is perfect.
What, you got a United scarf as well, have you?
No, I wish. So the same question for yourself, Q. If you can give us a little bit for our listeners and followers, many people know who you are, but also for those that don't, if you could give us a bit of a background and your involvement in football.
So I was born in the Netherlands. I've played professional football for about 23 years. Started my journey in the Netherlands, Sparta Rotterdam, Willem II, AZ Alkmaar. Won a championship with AZ in the Netherlands. Then moved to Poland. Played in Poland for 2.5 years. Played for Wisla Krakow. Won the Polish championship with them as well. Then I moved to Australia. Came to Australia. Played for the Newcastle Jets. And I finished off my career at Melbourne City.
Amazing.
So
He's being very modest there. He's being very modest there, Ray. He played at a World Cup and marked Leo Messi, if you don't mind.
I was just going to mention that because we actually had it brought to our attention that not only did you play against Lionel Messi in a World Cup, but you've also played in Champions League games as well. Is that correct, Hugh?
Yeah, so I played Champions League for 3 different teams. And I played over 50 EuroLeague games as well.
That's amazing, mate. I couldn't believe it when I first met you for the first time a few weeks ago in Australia, that we had a hidden gem, and your involvement in football, I believe, should be way higher in the game of Australia. And yeah, I think we need to unearth this diamond and make the FFA aware of who you are and what you do. And I think we need to get you working up in that technical department, but we'll see how we go with that one.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate it.
First question I've got for you, myself and Josip, I've got a couple of questions for you, and I'm going to start off. The first question is for Simon. Now, one of our programs that we launched about a year ago, Simon, it's called the Pro Player Pathway. And we discovered an area in football in Australia that we don't believe is a clear and concise pathway for football players in Australia, especially if they want to go overseas as well. But we also educate, engage the students and players that sometimes, well, football won't work out for you, but there is other opportunities in football, whether it be as a sports scientist, a physio, a coach, or maybe one day even being a journalist or a presenter like yourself. The question I've got for you is, do you think it's a good way to go to stay involved in football, and some of the opportunities that you've been offered over the years, are you happy with the choices that you made, and do you think it's a good route for people who are heavily involved in playing, but maybe as a pro to go into other areas?
Yeah, look, I mean, I'd say that in life generally, to be honest, it's always good to have a backup plan, although I didn't have one, to be fair. I always wanted to work in football, and I knew very early on that I wasn't going to be good at it professionally. So, you know, I made it my business to try and do the next best thing. But, you know, certainly it's good to have something up your sleeve in case it doesn't work out, because obviously the fallout rate in terms of, you know, young kids trying to make it as professional players, and Q will probably be able to speak better about this than I will, but it's huge. You know, it's only a very select few that get to the very top and are able to earn a decent living out of the game as a player. So it's worth exploring those other avenues, definitely. You know, in my year when I had, I was going to say off from football. I wasn't off from football, but I wasn't in full-time employment. You know, I experimented with an awful lot of different things, still related to journalism, but I I did podcasts and I did grounding and hosted shows online and did all sorts of different things. And, it was interesting to learn different skills and to find different ways of earning money and, putting food on the table. We all got to do it. And at the moment, as you can tell by my grey hair, I'm probably coming towards the end of my career. And I've just started doing a leathercraft course to make wristbands. So,
wow.
it's completely different. There you go. There's one of them. So, it's always good to have a backup plan because, things don't always work out, particularly as a footballer. You can get an injury as well, which can stuff you.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's great. And some good feedback for some of our got tuning in. Now, Q, we're just going to ask you a question in relation to playing at the high level games like World Cups and Champions League. So for our players who are preparing down that journey and are going to, hopefully some will experience play professional football, would you prepare as a professional player for playing in front of such big crowds, and how do you deal with nerves and stuff? Could you maybe give some of our listeners a little bit of advice around that if any of them are lucky enough to make it?
Yeah, so your preparation, like it's not just about the big games. It has to be a lifestyle. So you got your proper diet. You need to know when you need your rest, like afternoon sleeps. It just becomes a lifestyle. So when it becomes a lifestyle, the big games are just an add-on. And with the big games, like for me, I had a chat today about it as well. My non-negotiables, like for me, every day I start at 0. I start at 0, and I'm very grateful to be awake and to have a blessed day. And from there, like I just get ready and focus for the games. So my focus is just on winning. Every time I cross that line, it's just about winning the game and having that focus and mentality to do so. And that has been my best preparation, because when you cross that line with a mentality to win, you are very focused and sharp to start every game.
That's amazing, Q. Yeah, that's one of the things that we speak to our players. If you fail to prepare to fail. And I think what you've just said in a nutshell there is preparation's key for everything that you want to do with your football career. Now, I believe Josip's got a question for Simon. Josip, do you want to fire your question for Simon?
This isn't the official question, Simon, but will you be at KEW Beach Markets with those bracelets you talked about earlier?
Yeah, mate, if I can flog a few, absolutely. Yeah.
I'll line up and get a couple. One for each wrist. That's all right. It's funny enough, we mentioned preparation with Q and in terms of a player mentality towards preparation and what they undertake to get themselves on the ground. My question directed to yourself would be about yourself, the investigation you have to do and sort of research you need to do. Tell us about your preparation when you want to speak to someone notable and you want to make sure you make a good impact with your interview questions.
Well, in terms of preparation for commentating games, I don't shirk on that. It's probably similar in some ways to a footballer's training during the week. You put in your hard yards during the week and you deliver it on the Saturday or the Sunday. So I make sure I don't skimp on any of the preparation. It's the same for an A-League game as it is for a World Cup final. You make sure you do your research. You make sure you know as much as you possibly can about the teams, about the players, about the coaches, about the formation they play, about any injuries, their league table position, etc., etc. So, if I want to get extra information, then I will pick up the phone and speak to the coach or the press officer, who normally has a pretty good handle as to what's going on at the club. In the A-League at least, obviously I'm pretty fortunate enough to be able to know most of those people. So it's only a text message or a quick phone call, and I can normally get the information I want. If I'm doing a game that involves overseas teams, I am calling Australia against Argentina, for example, in a few days' time. So I've already started my research on Argentina. I won't be able to go to the press conference, unfortunately, because it's in Beijing, but I will probably speak to an Argentine journalist over the next week or so and, try and get some semblance of information as to how they might play, what's in the manager's mind. So you do as much as you possibly can. And again, just to echo what Q said, it's the same as being a footballer. If you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail.
Yeah, good. That's good synergy in the messaging there between the both of you, whether it be sports media or in practice as an athlete as well.
Yeah, same process.
That's good. Could I extend my question out to Q then, please, Ray?
Yes, go for it. Thank you, Josip.
Thank you. Q, we share a common contact that's played football with you over the years, and Joey Didlitzer, who played with you at RZL.
Yeah, Big Joe.
We're both at North Geelong. He's been very passionate about the junior development over there, and he's making fantastic progress with a lot of the young lads. So yeah, I had a chat with him recently about you coming on board to Euro Football Star. So yes. Anyway, what that really sort of entails about with Joey is because he's so big on foundational skills. I guess the question to yourself is, throughout the course of a professional career as a footballer, how often and how much time is spent on revisiting foundational skills to make sure you have that sharpness out on that edge?
That's a everyday thing, every day. Like your basic principles, your passing, left and right passing, scanning. It has to become a habit. So when you're on the pitch, think about what you need to do. You already know it. You got the muscle memory. You've done it over and over again. You do the same. You do it individually. Then you do it with pressure. So it's an everyday thing. And it never stops. If you want to be the best or want to play at the highest level, you have to revisit it every day.
Yeah, an important message for the young athletes that we work with at Euro Football Star, and yeah, I'm glad to hear it that it does continue along the pathway with yourself as you get through your professional career down the track too. Over to you, Ray.
Yep.
Brilliant, guys. So next question's for Simon, and I want you to take your Manchester hat off with this one and do it as a neutral, if you can. It's a two-pronged question, Simon. Where do you think the game is going to be won or lost on Saturday, and what is your overall score prediction and why?
Well, obviously, I'm hoping Manchester City win it. We've waited a long time for it. Where's it going to be won or lost? Look, to be honest, you know, the top games are normally won and lost in midfield. You know, the team that is organised, it can get the supply lines to their creative players. Overall, I think, you know, 1 to 11, obviously it's a squad game these days, but I think man for man, Manchester City have a superior squad. They've got this sort of individuals that can influence big games, particularly Kevin De Bruyne, particularly Erling Haaland. If Inter can't, you know, lock up that service to Haaland, then you know, he could have a profitable night on Saturday. But Inter have got players that can hurt City as well. You know, particularly Lautaro Martinez, I think is a terrific footballer. So I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park for City, but I do think if they can control the pattern of the game, which they're very adept at doing, City, they put their foot on the throat of opposition teams, even really good teams, and make them look ordinary. Then ultimately the quality shines through. You earn your right to play, and then your quality takes over. And obviously, I hope that's the case on Saturday. Of course, City can have an off day. Doesn't happen very often, but if it does, then Inter is certainly good enough to take advantage of that. But I think City will win, and I think it'll be 2-1.
Yeah, I'm afraid I have to agree with you. I think when I look at it from a neutral point of view, I think the game's going to be won or lost. I think Kevin De Bruyne is the key man. And I actually hate admitting this, but I think potentially we could see one of the biggest scorelines in Champions League finals history. I'm thinking.
No, don't say that, Ray. You're going to put the mockers on it, mate.
Ray was on Sportsbet looking for 8-0.
The nuts for Q, and it links into the final, the Champions League final. Now, I've got a very good friend who works in Italy, and they did see at the Inter Milan training ground 2 double-decker buses pulling in, and apparently that's to do with their tactics. But how are Manchester City Q going to combat Inter Milan defending with 10 men behind the ball? Because we know it's going to happen. And how are they going to combat that? Is it best to go at them from the start and try and get an early goal, or do Man City play them at their own game?
Yeah, you have to play your own game. It's often, sometimes you see when teams get to a final, they get a bit stressed out and they want to change their game plan. Like, my philosophy is, the reason why you got there is the way you play. So play the way you used to play. So if I was City, I would just bring it to them.
Excellent.
One key thing for them will be the pace in which they move the ball. They have to be quick to move the ball from side to side, because that's the way you're going to wear them down. If that's not fast enough, they can cover the gaps, and then it's going to be a hard game.
And can we get a score prediction from you, Q? What do you believe the score is going to be?
So I think City will win. I think it will be a 3-1, and that's due to an early goal. So once they get an early goal, Inter will have to come out and play, and that will be in City's favor. So I think it'll be a 3-1 for City.
Brilliant, Q. Brilliant, Q. Now, I believe that Josip's got one more question for Simon and one more for Q. So I'll hand it over to Josip.
Thank you, Ray. So Simon, just thinking about the amount of games you've covered and probably the interviews and research you've done over the years, is there one occasion in the World Game that stands out the most for you, and why?
That's a difficult one. And I reckon Q's answer would probably be the same, because working in football is such a pleasure and such a privilege that you have so many highlights, and not all of them are actually to do with games. It's about traveling to places that you never otherwise go, and getting a new life experience. I've had plenty of those, traveling to the likes of Lebanon and Kyrgyzstan and Vietnam, Honduras, Uruguay, Argentina. It's been a wonderful life, and I wouldn't change a second of it. In terms of the on-field stuff, I would say there's a couple. First of all, calling an FA Cup final, which I did many years ago when I was at the BBC. Any young English kid growing up of my vintage knows how special the FA Cup is in England. So to be at Wembley to call that game, that was very special for me. And since my time I come to Australia, I would say the World Cup in 2006, because that was obviously a very special tournament for the Socceroos and for football in Australia. So to have the privilege of calling on live television the first ever goal scored by an Australian at a World Cup, as I did with Timmy Cahill against Japan, that's got to be up there as well. But I could probably go on for about 20 minutes with another 10 or 15
different occasions. Yeah. It's funny you say about the FA Cup and how special that was to you. My first memory of you as a presenter in Australia was when Man City was in the FA Cup final. And for the life of me, I think it was Man United, Man City. I just can't remember exactly who the opposition was at that time. It was the early days in Australia, and that was my first memory of you. So there you go. I think we're about the same vintage with the Silver Fox thing happening.
Yeah, we're all knocking on, mate.
Thanks for that, Simon. Over to you, Q. With all the football exposure you've had in life, and you think about the people that have supported you, aside from that immediate inner circle of family and those the closer touch coaches, was there someone just like a layer or two back in the background that was influential in your life, or that you thought, I couldn't have done this without them, even though they weren't immediately impacted in the center of your life constantly?
Oh. Well, I think what a lot of people don't know while playing, and because you don't see a lot of them, is the assistant coaches.
Yeah.
Like, as a player, a lot of work you do and communication is with the assistant coaches. And I think that they don't get enough credit for what they actually do, because not a lot of people know what they actually do. But every one of them has been a great part of my football. Outside of all the big coaches I've worked with, like the assistant coaches that were involved, They were a great help in my football career, and all the extra training, extra sessions, 1v1 sessions, the physiotherapist, the masseur. Like it behind the scenes, there's just a big team of people that supports all the players that are not seen on camera or not seen on the pitch, but very valuable as a player.
That's wonderful to hear. Thanks for sharing that, Q. And if I ever get a chance to be an assistant coach again, I'll remind the head coach that I'm not there just to pick up cones, that there is one-on-one sessions I can help out with too.
100%.
Thanks, Ray.
Thank you for them questions, Josip. So, guys, just to finish off, firstly, a big thank you from everyone at Euro Football Star and all our listeners for tuning in. Now, we've already got Q tied down for next year for London, for Wembley, and I believe he's going to be coming to the Champions League final as a special guest, the Euro Football Star. And depending on where you are, Simon, but the offer's going to be extended. So from next year, if you're available, mate, we'd love to offer you a trip across to London to Wembley and be with us for the Champions League final if you're available, and we can have a chat about that over emails.
That'd be lovely, particularly if City are in it.
I think there's a very good chance. We're planning to do the Europa League final, which is in Dublin. I believe Liverpool are going to be making that one, and then it'll be on to Manchester City Champions League final. Well, a big thank you, Simon, and a big thank you, Q, and I will say adios from Istanbul in Turkey.
Mist Air Conditioning and Mechanical Services is one of Geelong's premier domestic air conditioning companies. The company is a venture by the directors of a major commercial mechanical services company which has over 45 years combined experience in the air conditioning sector all over Australia. Our service and vast industry connections will ensure that Mist AC will not only be competitive in price, it will also get you, the client, ongoing service needs for your home or office. With a 7-year guarantee on all our workmanship, you can rest assured you will never be left out in the cold. Whether you are renovating or building your new family home, Mist can provide all types of ducted, split or reverse cycle air conditioning for your environment. We offer a total solution suitable to your family's needs. To find out more, visit our website at www.misthc.com.au or email us at info@misthc.com.au or call us now on 5278 6478. Welcome back to the Game of Two Halves podcast, powered by the Geelong Region Soccer Show and proudly sponsored and brought to you in 2023 by Euro Football Star. It's time now for the local game segment of tonight's Game of Two Halves podcast, and we're going to kick it off, first of all, looking at all the results of the round fixtures played over the weekend. But before we do that, we are trying to, on our Facebook page, we have introduced Super Sunday Soccer along with Super Saturday Soccer, and we are basically providing a score update service on our Facebook page each weekend. But for that, we do need your help, folks. And if you are out and about at any of the games these days with smartphones, it's very, very easy to do to update instantaneously. There was an article in the press earlier today or the last few days where it talked about some of these data collectors who are at games, and they do it for betting companies. Well, we're not a betting company, but certainly we are trying to provide a service and keep everyone informed of all the scores that are happening around the grounds on a Saturday afternoon or indeed a Sunday. And it doesn't matter if it's the reserves, the seniors, a juniors game, a veterans game, whatever the case may be. If it's a game of football being played around the region, we want to know about it. Speaking of the weekend that was, let's turn our attention straight away to NPL Victoria. And the season just seems to get from bad to worse for North Geelong. They are firmly entrenched at the bottom of the competition standings. Not much was expected from their fixture on the weekend. They travelled up to Avenger Park to take on the league leaders, Avondale FC. And they put up a good fight, only losing 3-0. But this weekend, they've got a tough game again on the road. Saturday night, they come up against Hume City, who suffered a 3-0 loss at the hands of lowly St Albans Saints. and North Geelong will play their game at Hume City's ground on Saturday night at 6:30 p.m. Well, Geelong has got a massive week of football. On the weekend, they had a gilt-edged opportunity to really move away from the dreaded relegation zone. Unfortunately for the Stead Park-based Lions, they could only muster a 1-1 draw against Ballarat City, and as a result, they still find themselves perilously close to the drop zone. This weekend, they travel to Cross Keys Reserve to take on Essendon Royals in a must-win game. Now, should the Royals win, they will overtake Geelong. Should Geelong win, they're going to move away from that relegation zone, so it's a must-win game. But before that happens, obviously, the big game tomorrow night at Jack Edwards Reserve. That's at 8 p.m. when Oakley Cannons host Geelong. The might of NPL meets the NPL 3. And on last night's podcast, the Football Out West show, our sister podcast produced by the same organisation, Community Sports Media Services, Steve Curtin and myself had the privilege of chatting with Geelong captain Anthony Trojkowski, who unfortunately is out at the moment. This is a small snippet of what he had to say.
Well, look, I think we started off the season quite strong, as you said. We don't have the luxury to have a really deep squad, like probably an Oakley Cannons or something, like which we face on Tuesday. So that's obviously a difficulty for us. And, with a few players out, it does, hinder the chance of obviously being up there with the other teams. So, we started off really strong. We've struggled the last few months, but, I think we've got the players, we've got the mentality. So hopefully we can lift and really have a good, strong finish to the season.
And that was from last night's episode of the Football Out West show. To watch that replay, to watch the full replay of that interview, go to our YouTube channel, the Geelong Region Soccer Show YouTube channel, or to the Football Out West show YouTube channel, and you'll find the full replay of last night's podcast on there. Now let's move along to the state leagues. Another side that is struggling this year, unfortunately, hasn't been a good year so far for the Geelong clubs. Not too many are doing very, very well. Most of them are at the wrong end of the competition standings, or their respective competition standings. In State League 1, Corio hosted FC Strathmore, coached by former North Geelong Warriors coach Mickey Cholina, who ended up staying back afterwards in the club rooms, which is very, very nice of him and the FC Strathmore folks. But Strathmore defeated Corio 3-2 this weekend. Corio taking on Brimbank Stallions at Hume Reserve. That game's at 3 p.m. Do I need to even say it? It is a must-win game. When Corio at the moment in second last spot, dangerously close to the drop zone, they need to start winning games, as does Geelong Rangers. Rangers in State League 2, they had a tough game. They came up against the competition leaders, Clifton Hill, 5-0 drubbing at the hands of Clifton Hill. This weekend, Epping City, bottom side, Epping City hosts the Rangers, and this is when we talk about gilt-edged opportunity to move away from the relegation zone, this is it. The Rangers simply need a win here, no ifs or buts. In State League 4, Surf Coast is one of the only Geelong clubs at the present moment in a promotion-seeking position. And mind you, that second spot there in State League 4 only leads to a promotion playoff again against the State League 4 Northern Division runner-up. So it's still not guaranteed, that's for sure. But on the weekend, Surf Coast defeated Bell Park 4-1 in the local derby. Barwon, unfortunately, they succumbed to ladder leaders Laverton 1-7. A big thrashing there. This weekend coming, Bell Park travel to Melbourne City. Surf Coast are away to Barnstoneworth United. And Barwon hosts the Moonee Valley Knights. That could be a very, very tough game, that one. But they could do Surf Coast a huge favour by taking some points off the Knights at Grovedale Reserve on Saturday night. That game kicks off, by the way, at 5:15. In Men's State League 5 action, we saw Melton Phoenix destroy Lara United 4-1. But speaking of destroying, the Deakin Ducks absolutely annihilated Tarnee United 10-0. So that's a huge percentage booster for the Ducks. The Surfside Waves had the bye. So in round 13 fixtures this weekend, Lara United are at home to lowly Tarnee United. Bendigo City host Surfside Waves in Bendigo. That game kicks off at 5 p.m. And then Deakin Ducks have got a very tough game on the road when they travel to Balmoral Park, where they will play Balmoral FC, the undefeated competition leaders at the moment. We now turn our attention to the women's side of things. The women's VPL and Geelong Galaxy have strung together some really good results in recent weeks. Unfortunately, on the weekend, that winning streak came to an end when Brunswick Juventus defeated Geelong Galaxy 1-0. Galaxy remain in 6th position on the competition standings, and they're about 6 points off second place Spring Hills, who jump into second spot after Ringwood City, interestingly, got beaten on the weekend by Spring Hills. So at the moment, Essendon Royals on top, Spring Hills second. They are the two promotion spots into next year's NPLW competition. Galaxy, well, they'll be hosting Essendon Royals at Hume Reserve this Sunday, 3 p.m. kickoff. A very tough game indeed, but Galaxy will certainly be looking to get back on the winners list. And certainly last but not least, Women's State League 1 competition. On the weekend, North Geelong returned to winning ways with a 5-0 win over Mill Park away, and that thrusts North Geelong into third spot on the competition standings. Geelong Rangers lost to Brunswick Zebras 2-0, and as a result, they've now slipped into 9th spot, or second last. And Lara United had a big win on the road against Caroline Springs, 2-1 at the City Vista Reserve. A very, very important win for Lara United as they maintain pace with the leaders. In round 9 fixtures, Lara United are at home to Clifton Hill. Bundoora United, the runaway competition leaders, they're at home to Geelong Rangers. And then we find it's a case of second versus third. Keilor Park hosts our very own North Geelong at Keilor Park Recreation Reserve on Sunday. That's at 3 p.m. in a direct battle for second spot between the Eagles and the Warriors. That should be an absolute beauty. And that brings us to the end of our weekend roundup, folks. Stay tuned after this very, very short break. We'll be talking to our first guest for tonight in the local game segment, Dermot TEBB and Andrew Burgess from Futsal Ballarat. Remember, Futsal Ballarat operates or administers all the futsal competitions down here in Geelong. Lots of interesting stuff happening in the field of futsal that does affect the Geelong region. After that, we'll also take a very, very comprehensive look at the Victorian Junior Country Championships that just concluded several hours earlier in Ballarat, and some good results, some not so good results for the 12 various junior teams that went up to Ballarat. 4 of them were girls teams, 8 of them boys teams. We'll find out exactly how that all went, and plus we've also got some footage of those country championships as well. Folks, don't go away. We're going to have a very short break. You're watching the Game of Two Halves, powered by the Geelong Region Soccer Show. It is indeed episode 109. When we return, it's time for our guests. As the first solar tube skylight installer in Victoria, Scotsco Skylighting has nearly 30 years of experience and offers a variety of services including custom-made skylights, high-quality Velux skylights, and a variety of solar tube daylighting systems. The benefits of having the skylight in your home are many. They let natural light into your space, and with that light comes solar heat, improving your mood and even helping with performance in workplaces. Plus, heating your home with sunlight can save on heating costs during the chilly seasons. Cosmetic changes like skylights can add equity into your home, and similar to adding mirrors on the walls, skylights can make a room feel bigger and more spacious. It's It's about time you enjoyed all these benefits plus more. So what are you waiting for? To get a free daylight assessment and installation quote, call our founder and owner Adrian Begg on 0409 823 177 or visit our website at www.scotsgoskylights.com.au. Scotsgo Skylighting is proudly Geelong owned and operated. Welcome back to the Game of Two Halves podcast. It's my absolute pleasure now to welcome to the show here we go. They're all the way from Ballarat, cold Ballarat tonight, no doubt. We've got DERMOTT, TEBB and Andrew Burgess. And gents, how are we? And welcome to the show.
Going well, thanks, Toch. Thanks for having us here.
Yeah, absolute pleasure to have you guys on the show. First of all, DERMOTT, tell us about Futsal Ballarat. How is it structured? How does it operate the competitions down here in Geelong? And is it just Futsal Ballarat, or is it part of a bigger organisation?
Sure. So we run all the futsal here in Futsal Ballarat, and we have about 1,000 members participating weekly from 2-year-olds right up to seniors. With multiple opportunities for training programs, development training programs, elite pathways, as well as obviously social development training programs and competitions. So we're running similar programs in Geelong, under Geelong Futsal, currently running senior programs and some big stuff coming for our summer competitions as well. So looking forward to the future, mate.
Yeah, no, that's good. Andrew, what about yourself? What's your role in within Futsal Ballarat?
Yeah, thanks, Toch. And I'm just wearing my best Geelong top tonight as well. So, But so I work hand in hand with DERMOTT with both coaching and also growing the club and also growing our reach into Victoria, largely around working with our councils to build relationships there and get access to facilities because as with all sport, if you can't get on the ground or you can't get on the court, you can't play the game. So working very hard with the City of Greater Geelong to get a really good opportunity to access down there at the quality facilities that Geelong has. And then on top of that, really looking at building our competition. And we're really proud, Toch, that although we are Futsal Ballarat, we have actually started and are running as Futsal Geelong and the Geelong Futsal Club. It's a really great culture within Geelong and the region down there. We know it's such a strong soccer following community, strong soccer playing community. And we see a fantastic link between futsal and football to grow further opportunities for more participation down in the region.
DERMOTT, for many, many years, the City of Greater Geelong and the City of Greater Geelong's, organisation, Futsal Geelong, ran futsal down here. And it was always done mainly as a social or participation thing. It was done at Leisure Time Centre, was done at BVAC, Barwon Valley Activity Centre. But now you've come in and taken over. How has the transition been? Has it been seamless? Has it had its teething problems? And what were the results of the first, 12 months of running the program here in Geelong?
Yeah, look, starting from scratch again, there's always a few teething problems, but with how it went over that first 12 months was even better than we expected. There's obviously good numbers playing outdoor football and previously futsal in Geelong. So we had anticipated that numbers were going to be strong, but the last 12 months has been quite hectic. They finished just under 1,000 members over the last 12 months, and we're looking to grow that over the next 12 months as well. So really good, strong start and excited to see where it can go in the future.
Was there anything that you kind of identified as things that could be improved on? In particular, let's say, the competition wise and participation side of things, but also maybe the development of it, the elite pathways, for example.
Yeah, so like I touched on earlier, we've got some exciting things coming. We had a junior program throughout the last 12 months for primary school kids. There was about 25 teams that took that up in the inaugural competition with under 10s and under 12s. We're looking to go right down like we do in Ballarat, have an under-6 competition all the way through to seniors, and so everyone can find their own level. So that's sort of the social bit we're looking for to grow mainly, is that, I guess, primary school aspect. The other part, we've got our elite pathway here in Ballarat with probably about 150 boys and girls that train on a weekly basis to go to tournaments throughout Victoria and some interstate. We're looking to get the exact same thing going in Geelong with the Geelong Futsal Club, and provide the opportunities for the kids to showcase what they can do as well.
Okay, let's talk about that. The Geelong Futsal Club, is that the creation of a whole new club? Is that just basically going to be the name of the representative team? Either Andrew or Derm, you can answer those questions. That sounds pretty exciting.
So I'm really excited about that, and really excited about the quality of players that we have down in Geelong and identified already. So we are putting the foundation in now to look to really grow that elite program. To answer your question, we will have, so the structure will be, we'll have a Ballarat Futsal Club and we'll have a Geelong Futsal Club. And those two clubs will play into a regional series. And from that regional series, we'll then pick our West Vic Warriors team. And that West Vic Warriors team will be the Western representative team for Western Victoria. And what we envisage happening, and we've already piloted this through the Ballarat group, that we will be taking that team away into international or national tournaments for a start, and then potentially international. So the last couple of years, we've been up and competed in the Gold Coast International with a representative club, which is pretty much just Ballarat. We're really excited about bringing Geelong into that and having the best players from both the Ballarat and Geelong region come together and play under the West Vic Warriors. And we've already had a touch of that experience. We had the under-12s group this year play in the state championships. That was made up of both Ballarat and Geelong players. With limited training, limited opportunities to work with the boys, that team went through and made the final. And I won't say we're unlucky to lose it. I think we didn't play as well as we could have played in the final itself, but certainly demonstrated the quality of player that is available, and it certainly excited both Dermot and I about what the future of futsal can be, and just another level and another pathway for kids in regional Victoria to have a red hot crack at some great tournaments.
Yeah, both of you have been involved in coaching some of those rep teams. Dermot, you've spent a lot of Saturday mornings watching and down in Geelong here, watching some of the young talent at primary school level and even secondary school level. What's your early impressions of the talent here in Geelong? Because obviously, as you said, a lot of them do play soccer, on Sundays and during the winter months. But is there enough talent here in Geelong to maybe harness it to be able to take it to another level?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. We obviously the first 12 months we were planning around just getting the competitions back up and running. And the Geelong Futsal Club was in our plans, and it's been in our plans from the inception. But we've seen the level of talent that is down there, and are looking to expedite that solely due to that. The quality of the play, the quality of the competitions is really, really strong. And I think it says a lot about the footballing community that's already down there and what's already happening. So not only do we think it will be a really good program, we think it'll be really successful once it's up and running with the quality of players that we have there. Yeah.
Now let's talk about last week. Football Victoria made an announcement that it would launch an F League, or that's what it was talked about, an F League, which would be later this year, which would be the pinnacle of futsal. At club level for the seniors, and then the state league would be like for the juniors. Do you guys know any more information about that since the press release was released last week?
Tonji, I'll take that one for a start.
Yeah.
We are really excited about the fact that Football Victoria are getting serious again about futsal for a start, and putting both the F League and the State Futsal League back on the agenda. They haven't released any further information other than to say EOI is closed tomorrow, expressions of interest. We can announce and tell everyone that we have put expressions of interest in on behalf of both Geelong and Ballarat under the Westwick Warriors banner. We are keen to explore the opportunity of having rep sides from the region come and play into that competition, but we're waiting on some further information from FE around, well, what's it look like, what's the commitment that would be required, but it's certainly something we're factoring into at the future of futsal as we go forward, and something that we'd be really excited about over the summer months. What we're really also very aware of, and we've had a preliminary discussion with you, Geelong Regional Football Association, I think it is the GRFA or GRFC committee, I think it is, sorry, these
GRFC,
days.
yep.
Thank you. Just a preliminary quiet word just to say, we're not here to compete with football, I think, and we really want to get that message out there. We're not trying to take players out of football. We want to value add into what futsal can do to help develop football players as well. So, you went through all your local football roundup before. The number of clubs that Geelong has, it's quite quite a credit to the culture of football down there. So we just want to make sure people are clear that we're not out trying to steal players. What we are trying to do is work really well with club and club football to give pathway opportunities and development opportunities. And what both Dermot and I bring to the region that the region hasn't had at futsal level before, with it just being with the council predominantly, is 2 state level coaches, and Dermot's also a AFC qualified coach, and shortly I'll be doing the same course. And we want to work to develop kids, and we've got a great history of doing that as with what we've done at Ballarat, and now we want to bring that into Geelong. And we see the F League or the state leagues, which are 12s, 14s and 16s in boys and girls, as a great opportunity to be another development tool for football and futsal in the region.
Yeah, no, this brings it a step closer to reliving some of the glory days of once upon a time when there was a Geelong rep team playing in a national competition. Before this, would be even great to have a state competition. We've got some historical footage of the Geelong CC Cats in the old James Hardie National Indoor Soccer League. Now, that's circa 1987, as you can tell by the hairstyles. But back in those days, the Leisure Time Sports Centre there in Norlane West was regularly filled to capacity with lots and lots of spectators there, which is fantastic and great to see. And look, since then, it only lasted, I think, a couple of seasons, if that. And unfortunately, didn't go any further than that. But this is a step in the right direction. And look, there have been some half-hearted attempts in the last couple of years to have a rep team, playing at tournaments, and they've done it very, very well from memory. But this is an opportunity now to really start to develop the sport as a whole. Dermot, have you had much to do with Football Victoria? And apparently they do now have a designated person looking after futsal. Are they finally starting to turn the corner, and as a governing body of futsal and football in this state, are they starting to once again take futsal a little bit more seriously?
Yeah, absolutely. They do have a dedicated futsal person within FB. They're also integrating all the other roles within their departments into football and futsal together as well. So not only have someone driving it, it's also becoming integrated into the organisation, which is really good. We're starting to see some positive things come out of that as well. And these things will take time, but it's a really good start, and they're definitely going down the right track. And the F League and State Futsal League are going to be a very good in the right directions as well.
Yeah. Now, at the moment, the only centre that is offering futsal in Geelong is the Barwon Valley Activity Centre, and it's pretty much almost exclusively used by futsal. We used to have the Leisure Time Sports Precinct, but in Geelong, unfortunately, we have just a lack of quality indoor facilities, both for futsal and for other indoor sports as well. Will futsal be returning possibly to the Leisure Time Centre, or are there other centres or within the city of Greater Geelong network that may be opened up for usage of futsal in coming months, years?
Tonch, we're again happy to let everyone know that one of the key things that we've been working on in our first 12 months is integrating our relationship with the City of Greater Geelong. Yep. and also positioning futsal at the strategic level of what the next 10 years looks like. So the City of Greater Geelong are doing a strategy at the moment, which, if it's not released yet, will be released shortly for public comment. And part of that strategy looks at what the futsal requirements will be over the next 10 years in key growth areas. And again, pleased to say that we've been a strong voice at that table, giving feedback around the opportunities for the sport to be extended out past VVAC, and certainly leisure time is on the radar, but new stadiums being looked at across the Geelong region as well, and planning with local governments around what that looks like. So we're really proud and pleased again that the people that we are working with and employing down in Geelong are Geelong football people. The referees at VVAC are all Geelong people. We haven't bring them in from Ballarat. Our management will be Geelong as well as we go forward. So we really want to be in the heart of football country. We really want to make sure that futsal has a great opportunity to grow, and that we can get lots more people involved in the sport, and pay respect to what you just showed us on the screen before, of where a lot of hard work from a lot of people has gone in, and there's been a lot of false dawns, not due to people not having a red hot go, but we really want to make sure this one is a sustainable growth period for the sport, and connects well, I should say, with local football, and provides a great base to grow the sport out through Geelong and the wider region.
Fantastic. It certainly sounds like really exciting times for the sport in not just Geelong, but the wider Western region, obviously in Ballarat and in Geelong. But with so much opportunities, it certainly is going to be an exciting next 6 months. But Dermot, I guess apart from the F League and the state leagues and what may eventuate from that, what else is being planned? What is like? Obviously, futsal in Geelong booms in the summer months. What can we expect over the next few months? Expressions of interest, to team registrations? Will we have any different competitions, any new competitions? What awaits us over the next few months as we start to look at the end of the current winter season? Can't believe I'm saying it's already so close.
You're flying, mate.
Unreal.
And absolutely, we are in discussions already with a lot of our teams to come back in for the summer season. We were very close to capacity last summer season. Following that, we'll be putting out EOIs and getting everyone back in. So we will have all of our programs running again. We'll have our senior programs, our junior programs, all of our school programs. We're also looking at the opportunity of running some form of a AAA program. So we've been in discussions with Geelong organisations to see how we can get that running and provide further opportunities for some form of the minority groups down there as well. So other one is potentially a walking futsal or something like that. But AAA is probably the big one where they're looking at to hopefully start in the next summer period. So just growing further opportunities for those programs for anyone at any level and any ability to come and have a crack.
That sounds really, really exciting, gents. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Game of Two Halves podcast today. It has been an absolute pleasure. And finally, Andrew, Dermot, have you got any last words for the viewership here in Geelong and further afield?
Times from me. Again, thank you to the clubs and the players that are supporting us down there. As with everything, you can't do anything. You can have some great courts, you can have some great facilities. If people don't turn up to play, then you're wasting your time. So thank you to the football community of Geelong getting behind us in our first 12 months. And to you, Tonch, like this is the this football show. I think you said 109 episodes of promoting football, getting information out there. It's a fantastic thing. So thank you for your commitment there as well.
Thanks, mate.
Brilliant to see these things come through.
Good on you. Dermot, over to you. Any last words?
No, again,
well
just a big thank you, mate. We are not here for the 1 year. We're looking to grow these programs with everyone. It's going to take a small army to get it done, and we're looking forward to growing the wider community in the future for anyone that wants to have a go.
Good on you guys, and thank you for joining us here on the Game of Two Halves in the local game segment.
Thanks, Tonchi.
gents. Dermot TEBB and Andrew Burgess from Futsal Ballarat. Folks, don't go away. Straight after this break, it's time for the Victorian Junior Country Championships roundup. There's some exclusive footage of some of the youngsters that were strutting their stuff on the football field on the weekend, and we'll also have a look at all the results as well. So don't go away. We're nearly into stoppage time. Mist Air Conditioning and Mechanical Services is one of Geelong's premier domestic air conditioning companies. The company is a venture by the directors of a major commercial mechanical services company which has over 45 years combined experience in the air conditioning sector all over Australia. Our service and vast industry connections will ensure that Mist AC will not only be competitive in price, it will also get you, the client, ongoing service needs for your home or office. With the 7-year guarantee on all our workmanship, you can rest assured you will never be left out in the cold. Whether you are renovating or building your new family home, Mist can provide all types of ducted, split or reverse cycle air conditioning for your environment. We offer a total solution suitable to your family's needs. To find out more, visit our website at www.misthc.com.au or email us at info@misthc.com.au or call us now on 5278 6478. Thank you to all of our advertisers and thank you to all of our sponsors for indeed making this show possible. At one stage in the pre-season, it was almost looking like we were not going to have a Geelong Region soccer show this year. And then Euro Football Star and all of our other skylighting and mist heating and air conditioning also have jumped on board to make sure that we are able to bring you this weekly show each week. Now we're going to turn our attention to the Victorian Junior Country Championships that happened over the weekend. And as we roll some of the video footage that happened over the weekend, the 12 teams competed at the Ballarat event this year. 8 of them from the boys, 4 from the girls. The under-11 boys North, they ended up in second position after the pool games. The under-11 boys South ended up in first. The under-12 boys in third. The under-13 boys in sixth. The under-14 boys in third. The under-15 boys in fourth. The under-16 boys did very well. They finished in second spot. And the under-18 boys in sixth spot. Those were the 8 boys teams that competed at the Victorian Junior Country Championships. As for the girls, the under-11 girls finished in second spot, did very, very well. The under-12 girls did even better. They finished in first position. The under-14 girls in fourth, and then the under-16 girls in fifth. That meant that we had 5 teams taking part in the finals matches. The under-11s North, they lost to fellow Geelong team, the Geelong South team, in the semi-finals, 2-0. So that meant that the Geelong South under-11s progressed through to the grand final, where unfortunately, after extra time, they lost to Albury-Wodonga 2-1. The under-16 boys also lost to Albury-Wodonga, very, very strong association, by the identical scoreline of 2-1. And then we had in the girls section, 2 of the teams ended up getting through to the finals. The under-11s, they lost to Bendigo after scores were locked at 0-0, and it went to penalties. They lost 3-0 in penalties, unfortunately, but they did very well against, once again, another strong association. The Bendigo and the Albury-Wodonga associations are renowned for being very, very strong because in these tournaments, the NPL clubs or players from the NPL clubs are ineligible to compete for their various associations. So you find that it's some of the tough, strongest players end up playing in the NPL, and they're ineligible to play for the country championships, which is a good thing. It gives the kids that otherwise probably wouldn't have that opportunity to play representative football a chance to do so. Now, the other team in the girls division, the under-12s, they also lost to Bendigo, also after extra time. But just as the game was headed to penalties, Bendigo scored the winner, and they won 2-1. So in the end, that was the outcome. We had 5 finalists, or 1 semi-finalist and 4 finalists, and unfortunately, they all took out the silver medal. So if we have and look at this game, this was the under-18s. They were playing on the main ground there at the state regional soccer stadium at Morsehead Park, a magnificent facility. If only Geelong had something similar to that. And we've got the summary there of all the games, of all the teams and how they went. As we said, all the teams there in red, they were the ones that progressed through to the semi-finals or the finals. So 5 out of those 12 teams managed to get through. 3 boys teams and 2 girls teams. And then we've got the scores and the results of how they ended up going in the finals. So that was all done there. And a big shout out to several people who helped with the video footage that provided either snippets of the video footage, or they actually organised for some of that video footage, the video clippings, to be sent to us. Alistair Leach, Emily Sutcliffe, Rachel Coomans, Philip Lang, and Ivan Kovachev. Thank you. A big thank you to all of those. And there was some of the footage we weren't able to use. There was just quite a fair bit of footage, but we really appreciate the fact that they were able to send us all of that footage, and we really thank them for it. Remember, folks, every Saturday and every Sunday on our Facebook page, we've got the weekend score update service, Super Saturday Soccer and Super Sunday Soccer. It can only happen if you guys contribute, because there are people at all of these suburban grounds throughout the weekends. Juniors, seniors, men, women, it doesn't matter. Pop the score, the full-time score results of whichever game it was that you attended, and keep us all informed and entertained. It's amazing how many clubs actually are brilliant, but how many clubs are really bad, even in this day and age of social media, that they don't update their scores. And you're looking for scores and how did that team go and that particular team, and it's usually the same teams that do so. Anyway, before we do go, big shout out to everyone involved at Geelong Soccer Club. A huge game tomorrow, arguably the biggest game of their 65-year history. Oakley Cannons hosting Geelong Soccer Club in round 7 of the Australia Cup. Should Geelong cause a David versus Goliath-like outcome, where the little guy beats the big guy, they will qualify for the national stage, the final 32 teams of the Australia Cup, and they will be the first ever Geelong region club to have ever qualified for the national stage of the Nationwide Knockout Cup. A huge result if they can achieve that. Folks, that brings us to the end of the Game of Two Halves podcast. And before I do forget, that game tomorrow, the Geelong game against Oakley Cannons, that will be live streamed on npl.tv. Thank you very much for being a part of tonight's massive show. It was a huge show. It was it was just great to hear with futsal what is in the wings, what is the exciting announcement about the Geelong Futsal Club, the F League, the state leagues that are coming up, but also the opportunities for the sport going forward, and the constant collaboration both with the Geelong Region Football Committee as well as the Geelong City Council as well. So there's some exciting things happening there, and great to see all those little tackers in Ballarat. I managed to get out there and see a few games, and it was also good to see run into people that I do know, or people that do watch this show, tune in regularly. And if you're one of those people, it was good to catch up with you in Ballarat, and thank you for all of the support that you've shown both myself and this program over the last 5 seasons. On that note, folks, thank you once again for being a part of tonight's show. Until next week, goodbye and have a great weekend. Great week.